Boy, do I wish I was coming to you guys with better news. Where to begin? So, I am posting this a little late. Usually, I boot up my AfterShock reaction videos straight from the theater, but I needed to grab a bite to eat after that crap sandwich that this movie gave me. Oof, man. So, let's start from the top. Between the opening narration and the brisk pace that the beginning of the movie takes in establishing the premise, it catches the audience up on all the events of the trailer. I thought to myself, great. Now, for the remaining hour 45, we can focus on the story, which will play as a complete mystery to us. Great time management. Let's go. I'm all for it. So, right from the rip, this film was, it started off as something of a Tarantino effect. You know, different perspectives from the same event. So, that was something that wasn't revealed with the film, or I should say with the trailer. So a welcome surprise. I'm thinking to myself, okay, cool. We'll get to see maybe things that one character noted that another didn't in solving the mystery. And again, that is a good framing device for setting this up, for one character knowing one detail that another didn't. So we're going into this movie. I'm saying to myself, okay, I think that, and even before, if you watch my precaution, I was absolutely all for everything, all for this movie going in and not knowing much about it, which is always a great thing when the trailers don't spoil what it is that we're in store for. So we spend much of the runtime, much of the leading lady's screen time, with the treatment that she gets from the town and her attempts to cope with the loss of the students, but also dealing with the blame she's been unfairly assigned. Now, in dealing with the life of the leading lady, I thought that was great. Build up that part of it so that, you know, the character development, seeing what she's going through, build that part up so that by the time that the horror kicks into overdrive, we're off to the races. You won't see the horror coming, and it not only will it blindside you, but you'll have, because the film will have built up time and investment in the leading lady, you'll vicariously feel the horror through her. So then, from her story, we pivot to Josh Brolin's character. And I felt that the film really picks up speed when his character, one of the concerned parents, is frustrated with the police progress, or a lack thereof, with the investigation, and irate at the thought that the teacher has not been incarcerated. He decides to take matter into his own hands and do some investigating of his own. Missing children, prime suspect, vigilante parents. I know where you're thinking that this could go. Alas, nothing that stupendous. But I felt that this was what it is that he was stumbling onto, how he was able to use his own profession to start putting clues together and start his own inquiry, start his own inspection into what's going on. I thought that this was great. Unfortunately, right when the movie is getting intriguing and Josh Brolin is figuring things out, the movie goes on two character POV tangents, and I'm sorry to say that it never regains that early momentum. And oh boy, those two characters, my God. The story follows these two nothing characters that slows the pace and almost made me forget what movie I was even watching. We went so far afield from what the film had going for it. It was like the movie itself lost the plot. Unfortunately, this goes on to drag on for so long that I distinctly recall saying to myself, "Hey, movie, did you forget you're a movie?" It certainly felt like no. It eventually circled back full circle. However, I couldn't help but feel like it had lost something by that point, never to be regained. And it wasn't enough to get the story back on track, which again was also very, very disappointing considering what it had been building in the first act. Angel says so many good movies always drop off after the climax, doesn't even try and let it down easy. Yeah, agreed. Although this one kind of runs out of not I don't want to say runs out of gas from the beginning, from act 1, more like it's not as tightly wound in terms of keeping the momentum or augmenting it or enhancing it going forward. Getting back on track, whatever critics are claiming that this film is gory or comedic, they're lying on both counts because they're talking out of their ass. There are moments of levity, but this isn't some irreverent comedy. This isn't slapstick. It's not The Naked Gun. So don't let that fool you or influence your expectations going into this film if you decide to watch it even after I'm giving you a warning here. The dream sequences in the movie further serve to build up the film's hopeless and helplessness around finding the missing children or finding out what's wrong. Though there is one image within the second dream that doesn't seem to pay off, and it just made me wonder, what was the meaning behind its inclusion? The camera work and the music are well executed. That I do have to give this film credit for. So, while the best usage of sound in horror films is either a deafening silence or music to properly set the tone, setting the volume of your score to just barely audible also adds... How did I know? I swear, whenever I get one of these kick comments, it's always spam. Sorry about that. Where was I? Just hide that for a second. Where was I? Oh, music. So yes, like I said, it's either that a film score or a film's the audio in a horror movie can either just be silence or a proper score can set the tone. However, setting the volume of your score to just barely audible also adds that unnerving tone to a scene. And there are several of them scattered throughout this film where the director pulls this off to eerie effect. Some parts of this movie reminded me of the film Antlers, which I believe that came out 2021, I want to say, November of 2021. So it reminded me of that film in the sense of a child in a haunting and daunting position of having to care for loved ones and do what they deem necessary to keep them alive at all costs, even if those are at the cost of others. Now, I very much like the idea of the supernatural slithering its way into modern society. Something that you wouldn't expect in a world of logic, in a world of reason. You wouldn't expect something like the supernatural to find its way in. However, oh man, with this movie, and before I get to that, yeah, there are examples of that I very much enjoy. For instance, you'll get someone just commented, but I can't see for some reason. You will get what am I thinking of? Oh, Wishmaster, which I very much enjoy. You will get a Citadel, another movie that I really like. This movie, and I would love nothing more than to be able to add this film to that list. However, unfortunately, I just can't do it for obvious reasons. Trying to think. Oh, and God, this goes for the characters, which is very unfortunate. There are zero interesting characters in this movie, which I gotta be honest is becoming a major problem with new directors. Like, this is one of the or not many, but one of the problems that I had with Robert Eggers' Nosferatu from late last year. Like, you have to be able to have that in your film. You have to be able to get characters that people care about, that your audience will gravitate to and invest in. And this movie really doesn't have that. It's more like you'll have a good, how can I put it? You'll have good portrayals like Julia Garner. You'll have characters making smart decisions like Josh Brolin. However, you really do need character, like personality, and this movie really doesn't have that, which is unfortunate considering that it went with the different POV perspective and the different POV framework of the film. It's like, if you're telling this story from the character's perspective, show how each of them differently react to this scenario with missing children. And apart from Julia Garner and Josh Brolin, it's like there's nothing. Like I said, the other two characters that this movie goes off on a tangent with, I felt that was a fumble, where you could have further developed these other two more interesting characters. Bit of a waste there. It's with a heavy heart that I have to describe that. By the time the identity behind this turmoil shows its face, I felt largely unimpressed. It's Kathy Griffin. Truly the stuff of nightmares. The reveal of the source of the town's dread isn't because it's a lame concept or a bad idea, don't get me wrong. It's just that the lead-in let it down, and the execution wasn't as well managed as the beginning of the movie. And it's such a shame that it wasn't able to hold on to that. It wasn't able to retain that, which worked against the film. It peaked at the first act, and man, it just was not able to recover, especially for me. I wasn't falling asleep, but I did kind of find myself bored with those other lame characters. So by the time the movie comes full circle and we're getting down to the pulling the curtain back on this mystery, it just didn't hit the way that it was supposed to, you know? And while the resolution at the end of the film is satisfying, it's the reveal in the middle towards the end that falls flat. And man, it really shouldn't have. That's the frustrating part about this movie. I distinctly recall that once the credits rolled and the lights came up in the theater, the couple to my left were audibly groaning, while the gentleman seated to my right stated out loud, "Pure garbage." Direct quote. I haven't seen this poor of a theater goer reaction since that crappy Batman starring Twilight from 3 years ago that no one talks about since. So, with this having been said and described, I mean, my God, 2025, what in the honest hell is wrong with this? Look, we've had bad years of horror. I distinctly remember 2017, oof, man, when woke cinema had officially arrived on the scene, pun intended, for movies like Get Out. Oh, Lord. And then Guillermo del Toro's, what was it? The Grinding Nemo. Oof. Look, I can deal with bad years of horror, but I suppose what's especially disappointing is that unlike those other years where you do have promising films on the horizon, man, it's just been one blunder after another. One moment where I'm attempting to be positive, and then it's just another disappointment. My God. And if the year 2025 isn't bad enough, I gotta shed a rather uncomfortable light over the native studio behind this film, Weapons. If New Line Cinema insists on reclaiming its horror lineage as the house that Freddy built, you're gonna have to have more Evil Dead Rise and 28 years later. And dude, a whole lot less of The Conjuring and It Chapter 2 and Megan 2.0 and Final Destination Bloodline and the Salem's Lot remake and this crap. Oh my God. Dude, I can't, man. This has been one terrible year. I can't help but feel like New Line Cinema just cannot get its act together. You'll have a great movie like Evil Dead Rise, and then it's just back to The Conjuring. And you guys had the A Nightmare on Elm Street license for how long, and you chose to focus on the Conjuring movies, and now you don't have it anymore. And honestly, you don't deserve it. But it has just been one slog of a year. I had high expectations for Weapons. Again, I like that the trailer didn't spoil anything, really. I like that everything you see in the trailers gets pretty much explained and narrated within the first 15 minutes. But right when the movie is getting good and getting intriguing, it's like, oh man, the survivors are heading into truly the unknown, and they don't know what they're getting into or what they're in store for. The tangent really killed the movie, and the execution of the reveal just wasn't enough to either get that momentum back or deliver on what the promise of the movie was and supposed to be, and why we all went to see it. So just very disappointing, I'm sorry to say. So if you guys were interested in what was my preview, you're welcome to check out my Weapons Precaution movie preview that I posted earlier. But yeah, unfortunately, this one is just gonna have to be chalked up to yet another disappointment of the year. And look, I don't say that with any kind of glee or satisfaction. I was rooting for this movie. I was really looking forward to it, but man, the people around me didn't like it. I didn't particularly care for it. And yeah, all that hard work just went up in smoke, which is really disappointing. So I would like to discuss now what is on the scene as far as the Mind's Eye Inquisition and the Greater Mind's Eye. I've been live streaming like a madman. 2 weeks ago, I split the video into two. I did a reaction video to the Hellraiser Revival game announcement. In addition to that, I did a live trailer gut reaction where I'm watching the trailer along with you all. Real quick before I forget, there was a trailer that dropped before I went to watch this movie for a Nightmare on Elm Street 4K collection. So be sure to look that up after you wrap up this video. I believe that they're going to be coming out with a 4K edition of the entire series, which I'm very much looking forward to that. Now back to me where the focus should be. But in addition to that, earlier this week, I did a watch party. I'm sorry, not a watch party. I did a video giving my preview of the month of August in terms of horror. Now, when I say that, it was horror video games, horror movies, and horror on streaming. It's the title of the video is Horoscope August 2025 Horror Preview. That was one video or one live stream that I did earlier this week. I did a watch party this past. I finally got back into doing watch parties of films this past Sunday of the movie The Inheritance, a Hulu horror film. So I highly recommend you catch that. What else? This past Wednesday, I did a watch party of The Wednesday Show, episode 1 of season 2. Like I mentioned earlier today, I did a watch party for, not a watch party, a movie preview of Weapons. Now, as far as coming attractions, I might have to I usually do live streams of survival horror games on Tuesday nights. I might have to forego that this month because of, I'll get to that in a second, but most likely Mondays, I'll be doing live streams of survival horror games. So I have to transition to not just that transition, but what I have on tap every Monday of August will be playing the Space Marine. Oh, no, I'm sorry. What is it? Deathwing. The Warhammer 40k Space Hulk. That's what it is. Deathwing. Not Space Marine. So it's the game is Warhammer 40k Space Hulk Deathwing. I'll be playing that every Monday for my summer survival horror event, which is my gaming event all season long of a theme that I went with, space horror. So I started the event out with Doom the Dark Ages in May, and then I'm wrapping this up in August with Deathwing. So be on the lookout for that. In addition, later tonight, I will be doing a watch party for Dexter Resurrection Episode 6. We are halfway through the season, so I do invite you all back for that. Let me think. I'll be doing 2 live streams this weekend. So most likely Saturday will be the first playthrough of Warhammer 40k Space Hulk Deathwing. It's a mouthful. And then Sunday will most likely be the watch party for the 50th anniversary of Jaws. After that, next Tuesday will be the Alien Earth watch party, which I will do these watch parties for Alien Earth. I'm not promising to like them, and I'll be getting into why, but I'll try to make them as entertaining as possible. That way, listening to me isn't as much of a slog as watching Alien Earth. Wednesday will obviously be the watch party for Wednesday, episode 2 of season 2. And then Friday will be the watch party for Dexter Resurrection, episode 7. Therefore, a lot of content coming your way. I hope you enjoyed this analysis of Weapons. If you decide to go see it, I hope that you don't get your hopes up the way that I did, because I was expecting much more than I eventually got. Therefore, I've been Inkarnate, reminding you, I ain't just a big deal, I'm the real deal. If you're resigned to your fate, time to subscribe to your fears.